My name is Andrew Lopez, and my paper will be on the technical outline on the difference between psychopathy and sociopathy. Now, the difference between these two can be a little bit different just because they're used so often interchangeably that when somebody uses the word, we don't know if they actually mean somebody's a psychopath or they're just a sociopath. This confusion is pretty hard to differentiate, so that's why it needs a bit more explanation. So that's what I'm going to try to do. I'll go over each of the words and why it is generally defined, because again, with this kind of cases, it's so hard to define. The most you can do is just try your best to understand each word, so that you can kind of understand the difference between them. So the first one that I'm going to go over is the act of being a sociopath, which is more common. I believe the percentage is around 4% of people are considered to be at least have enough traits to be considered a sociopath. So since that's the larger percentage of the people, we'll go over that one first. So according to the healthguidance.org, traits of sociopaths are considered to be paranoia, lack of empathy, and compulsive lying. There's actually many traits. These are just being three of kind of the more understood. We hear these the most, and we often associate these with being a sociopath. So these are three of the biggest examples. One that I want to talk about is compulsive lying. And this is something that people understand, and they think that some people just have a predisposition to lie and that they can be considered a sociopath for this reason. When it comes to someone compulsively lying, if they're a sociopath, some of the times they won't actually know that they're lying because it just seems natural to them. It's kind of an involuntary reaction to somebody says something or asks a question, and they may just lie because there's no reason not to lie in their opinion. Even if it's something small or if it's something big, they can just feel like if I just tell a small lie, it will make a difference. And they can't necessarily tell the difference. And that's something that we'll get into later about the difference between a sociopath and a psychopath. Lying is just one of these examples that we'll get into. So let's go ahead and go over to the reason why they do it. It's kind of more of an involuntary system, and that applies with a lot of the things that sociopaths might do. For example, they might feel like they are alone, or they might outcast themselves. Other sociopaths are very friendly and outgoing, and they use the ability that they don't have a sense of empathy. And empathy is another one of the biggest reasons why people consider other people to be sociopaths. Empathy is essentially what you consider when you see other people. Do you see things from their point of view? When you see something mean, do you understand why it's mean? Do you understand why you get reactions that you get? People that are sociopaths often have at least a hard time picking up on some of these aspects. Whereas a psychopath may know that somebody might be offended if you say something or do something, but they decide to do it anyway. These two, I would say, are the biggest kind of draws to what a sociopath is. It's more falls under the lines of not knowing what you're doing, but still doing it because it seems natural to you. Not to say that all sociopaths do this. Some of them have a better understanding. For example, they may understand why something hurts somebody else's feelings, but they can't relate. So if you were to say something to somebody and you know that you saying it would be mean, however, you can't necessarily put yourself in their shoes, you're more likely to be just minor sociopath, just because you understand at the very least that you want to conduct yourself in a way to where you're not directly hurting people. I think that's a good transition to go into what a psychopath is and what you can define a psychopath as. And essentially, psychopaths are considered to be more deliberate with what they're doing. They understand that what they're doing might be legal or might be wrong, and they may even think that it's not worth it. But to them, it's not a bad thing to do, and it's not a bad thing they want to go across. For example, according to PMS, the U.S. National Library says that if a person were to go to jail, the odds that they would go to jail again in their lifetime are 3 times higher among psychopaths. And generally, when we think of a psychopath, we think of them being as kind of cold, smart, cunning, but this isn't always the case, because when they have a rate where they go to prison 3 times as much as somebody who isn't a psychopath, it goes to show that even though they know what they're doing has punishments, they decide to go with it anyway. So they're more likely to go to jail multiple times because it's just something in their nature, generally, right? So with that being said, psychopaths are just kind of understanding. They know what they're doing, but they can't help but feel that way. Another thing that separates them from a sociopath is that they sometimes, again, when you're painting such a broad picture, you have to understand that these aren't always going to be the case, but violent tendencies are more common in a psychopath than a sociopath. For example, a sociopath might get easily angered, but their mind may not always turn to immediate, I've been angered, I need to turn this into some kind of violent escalation. Psychopaths are more likely to fall under that kind of personality trait because it taps into the same similar side of a sociopath, but just heightened reaction leads to over-aggression to the point of violence. And that's another key distinction between the two. Not to say that there can't be sociopaths that are often violent, but when it comes to these kinds of topics, it's very important that we kind of look at them separately, but also realize that the reason why they're so closely related to each other is because very much of the symptoms are the same, whether it be an apparent lack of empathy, because we can't really know what somebody's feeling or what they're thinking. We can only get our best guess, but we don't really know whether somebody is understanding why something's bad. For example, you lying to somebody. A sociopath would just lie, might just lie just because it doesn't really mean anything to them. They might not know, but a psychopath might be doing it explicitly for a reaction or to hurt somebody, and we don't necessarily know what they know. So we use these words interchangeably, but it's important to kind of step back and understand that the best we can do is just be careful with our language and the way that we use it. I think that is very key into using thought processes on someone being a sociopath or a psychopath.